Hey, welcome back. This is the time of year, happens one time per year, where I continually ask myself, is it time yet? Is it too early? Can I share it yet? Yes, that's right. I'm talking about the Justin Timberlake NSYNC meme where he sings, "It's gonna be May." Why I love that so much, but I do and it is this time of year. You will probably see or have seen me already share that meme in my email, on my socials, because thank you, Justin. I just love it so much and it brings me so much joy. So today is the day we can officially start to say and share it, because it's May. It is May. Whew, okay, so let's tap into this energetic forecast for the month ahead. If you're new here, welcome. This is the universal energy that we all feel. Just like the weather, when we know the energy, we can make choices on how we're going to interact with this. So let's start at the very beginning, right? Let's start at the very beginning. And the energy in May this year is the 6. Why? Because we take the 5 of the month of May and add it to the year. So 5 plus 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 6 equals 15. 1 plus 5 equals 6. And there is so much coming through for me that I'm going to try to keep this podcast less than a gazillion hours long. So let's get started. So in the energy grid, the tic-tac-toe board of numerology, so there's 9 single-digit numbers and there's 9 spaces on that tic-tac-toe board. The 6 sits at the very top, so across the mental plane, right in the center, where your forehead would be. And this is this mental energy, and it's a beautiful combination of both masculine, the right side, and feminine, the left side. And if I were to place it on your body, of course, it would be in the third eye. So this is where the term, the sixth sense, comes from. Your ability to perceive beyond the 5 primary senses. And you already hold it. Your sixth sense is there. We all have this third eye and this ability and capability to access it. And this month is going to be fire. So get ready. The interesting thing about the number 6 is that I used to think and feel that it was boring, like soft, predictable, kind of beige, if I'm being honest. And I think that's why I felt that way, is because how it's taught a lot in numerology spaces, including the courses I was in. It's typically taught like love, harmony, nurturing, responsibility. And while all of those are aspects of the 6, I was kind of like, cool, but like, where's the edge? Where's the power? Where's the bite? And then when I learned I was the 6 of diamonds, I was like legit annoyed, because I was like, wait, what is this? Because I had learned, but also this perception that 6 meant small, safe, but that wasn't the truth. That was just my interpretation of it and the interpretation that others had shared. And this is actually the energy that we're talking about for May, because the more I started working with the number 6, the more I realized, hey, it's not boring, it's nuanced. And in the nuance is where things get really powerful. And one of the best nuances I love is this feeling wheel. So if you've never seen it, it's this wheel of all the emotions and it's different colors, and they group emotions together by families or categories. And here's the funniest thing that I love about the feeling wheel is that boredom and contentment are right next to each other. Same neighborhood, right? But a different experience. Boredom, feels like if you're disengaged, if you're stuck, if you're restless, whereas contentment feels like grounded, presence, at peace. I want everyone to feel into this. Do you see how sometimes you might mistake boredom for contentment, and you might mistake contentment for boredom? This is the same energy. It's our relationship to it that matters. And that's the thing about the 6. It's not one thing. It's a spectrum. So on one end of this empowered energy, it can feel, yes, warm and loving and connected and deeply fulfilled. But it can easily flip into perfectionism, over responsibility, controlling. and honestly kind of dull if you're not engaged with it. And so what I realized was I wasn't reacting to the 6 as it really is. I was really responding and reacting to the narrow version of it. And so this month, I really want you to notice how many things that you've labeled in your life as whatever label you've assigned to it. Boring, annoying, not for me, not exciting, when really you've only just seen or experienced one version of them. What if it's not the thing that is limited? What if it's your view of it that has been limited? And that's the first invitation I have for you this month. Before you write something off, before you decide this is what it is, I want you to ask, pause first, of course, and then ask, is this actually true, or is this just how I'm seeing it? And I guarantee if you ask that question, the 6 will always show you that there is always more than one way to see something. And usually the power lives in the version that you haven't considered yet. And to bring this into a real practical, tangible example, I want you to imagine that you're standing across from me, we're facing each other, and we're standing on a sidewalk. And I have a piece of chalk. And I go down to the sidewalk and I draw the number 6 in chalk on the sidewalk. And I look down and I see a 6. Perfect. You, standing across from me, you look down at what I just drew, and what do you see? You see a 9. Same symbol. I didn't change what I drew, but it is a different reality because we're literally coming at it from different directions. So May is asking all of us to look at, is this actually true, or is this just how I'm seeing it? This month is not about truth in the absolute sense of that word. It is about perception. And the moment we say, this is just the way it is, this is the 6, or this is the 9, May is going to come and it's going to go, cool. All right, let me show you another angle. And when we just think about truth, I want you to really think this, feel into this. They say this thing about truth where there's like always 3 versions. What you said, what she said, and what actually happened. And even that I still feel is a little bit limited, because what if it's not just 3? What if it's layered? What if it's dimensional? And this brings in the other concept within the 6, within this energy of the month, which is duality. The truth that multiple things can happen and exist at the same time. It's really hard to imagine, especially when they're at odds with each other or seemingly at odds with each other. But it's true. Just think of an example. Okay, with my kids, I can be so annoyed with them in a moment and love them more than anything else in the world. Those 2 things are not in conflict. They're just both true. So like in relationship, which is a huge theme of May, buckle up everybody. We're going to talk a lot about relationships today. In relationships, you can feel hurt by someone and understand why they did what they did. You can outgrow something or someone and still feel gratitude for it. You can want more and also appreciate and be grateful for what you have. And notice the word that you heard me use through all of it, and. Most people will default to but or either or, and that creates separation. The word but literally cancels what you just said, and either or kind of forces a choice. But and expands. So what if this month, instead of trying to figure out which one is true, you allow yourself to hold multiple truths at once? And I just laugh because this is where yin and yang comes in, right? You've heard this a million times. This is this symbol, right? And you've never heard it explained yin or yang. It's yin and yang, right? It's not light or dark. It's not masculine or feminine. It's both shaping each other, both existing at the same time. And so when we move from or to and, we automatically stop defending our position. We stop trying to prove our perspective. Again, stop trying to prove that what I see is a 6 when you're telling me you see a 9, right? And we stop trying to be right, and we start understanding more. We start seeing more. We start holding more. And, I'll tell you this. Sometimes the discomfort that you feel is not because something is wrong. It's because you are trying to force this both or and reality into an either or framework, and it just doesn't fit. Like the 6 energy in May is not going to ask you to pick a side. It's going to ask you to expand your view. Let's layer in this now with the bigger arc that we've been traveling in. So if you did my quarterly forecast, Q2 forecast, if you've heard the April forecast from last month, April was very much this fuck around energy. Let's experiment, let's try things, let's be curious, push the edge, see what happens. And May is the find out, right? Is the second part of that. But here's the thing. It's not going to be in this neat, linear, logical, I did this, so I got that kind of way. This is more of like an energetic feedback, relational patterns. And yeah, get ready. I'm going to say the word karma. 6 is a karmic number. So let's talk about karma for a second, because this word gets thrown around a lot. Songs are written about it, and we're really going to unpack this. So, the first thing I do with any word when I start to feel into it is to transcribe it into numerical energy for me. So in numerology, you can take the English language and assign each letter a number. So A equals 1, B equals 2, C equals 3, etc., etc. And what you do with a word, and you can do this with your name, you can do this with a business name. I help people choose baby names. I help women choose if they're going to take their maiden name or keep their maiden name, or take on a married name, business names, programs names, any type of language that you're trying to do. We add up all of the digits of those letters and we come up with the overarching energy. And karma equals 8. And it's like, yada. Karma is momentum. If you feel into that number 8, it's around we go, like back and forth. Everything is connected in the 8. And if you just feel into that, I hope this will help you shift out of maybe what most people think karma is, which is, this system of punishment or delayed revenge. Or, they'll get what's coming to them. Oh, they'll get their karma, right? I think most people, or some people, might view it as like this invisible scoreboard where good, quote unquote, people get rewarded, bad people or bad deeds get punished. And like this universe or this universal energy is just like waiting and watching and keeping track and blah, blah, blah. And it's, don't worry, like karma will come back to get them or something, which sometimes that might feel satisfying, I guess. But this is also what keeps people stuck in powerlessness. Because if you feel that way, now karma is something happening to you or for you instead of what it actually is, which is something that you are actively participating in. So what karma actually is, at its core, is karma is momentum. It's not moral, it's not emotional, it's not personal. It is simply action, creates a pattern, creates a result, creates repeat, right? It's this loop. It's the energy that you put into motion continuing to move. So instead of saying you get what you deserve or whatever, it's actually more scientifically accurate to say you experience what you keep participating in. And this is a completely different relationship to it. And it's actually also reinforced by the word karma coming from Sanskrit karman, which literally means action or deed or doing. Karma is simply the echo of your actions over time. So in May, this month, what we're finding out is not what do I deserve. We are finding out what have I been participating in? What patterns have I been reinforcing? What dynamics have I been co-creating? What energy have I been bringing into the room over and over and over again? If you want to see this simply in a real life example, you can think about it like this. If every time you're in conflict, you shut down, that's an action. And over time, that becomes a pattern. And that pattern creates a result of disconnection or unresolved tension or people feeling like they can't reach you, whatever that result is. And then you might say, because it repeats, why does this keep happening to me? That's karma. That's a pattern. But it's not punishment. It's an opportunity to choose differently, right? Or look at it the other way, right? If every time something feels aligned and you move on it, even if it's messy, whatever, if you just go, you start to build trust and momentum and opportunities. And sometimes it feels or it looks like, wow, like things just work out for her. Yes, that's also karma. Repeating the pattern, repeating the energy that you participate in, right? And so I get it. I understand why people might fear karma because they think it's judgment. They think it's inevitable. I think people might think it's final. Like once something is set, you are stuck. But that is not how it works. Karma is not a fixed sentence. It is a moving system, which means the second that you change your action or your response or your pattern, you are literally interrupting the momentum and creating new. So here's how karma is going to show up in May. And I think this is where it gets super fun. May is not creating karma. We are revealing it, right? Based on our actions from April. So you might notice this month repeated conversations, similar situations with different people, maybe an emotional trigger popping up again. And instead of you responding to that by asking like, why is this happening again? I want you to reframe it and say, oh, I see the pattern now. That's power. And then what can we do? Interrupt it. So how we can work with karma in May, of course, we don't want to fear it. There is nothing to fear, but we can utilize it like feedback because that's what it is. So first we spot the pattern and not the story here. I just want to say, if you're saying they always do that, that is a story. That is not the pattern, right? It's what is the common thread here? What keeps repeating? Okay. Then number 2, this is where most people want to exit, but I'm telling you, stay in it. You have to find your participation in it. Okay? Not blaming yourself, not shaming yourself, just like, where am I in this loop? And then I want you to change one move. You don't have to overhaul your whole life. You just have to interrupt the pattern. Maybe you respond instead of react. Maybe you say the thing instead of holding it in. Maybe you move sooner instead of waiting. That's it. That's how you shift karma. It sounds so simple, but it's not always easy, is you have to stay present. Because the biggest trap is trying to predict karma, control outcomes, get it right. But karma does not live in the future. It unfolds through what you do now. So remember, karma is not something that happens to you. It's something that you are in relationship with all the time, which means you are not at the mercy of it. You are in motion with it. And so just think about it like this. When someone does something to you or whatever, your brain goes, oh, don't worry, karma will come back to them. What's underneath that? Let's go there. Hurt, lack of closure, a desire for fairness, wanting it to balance out somehow. Totally human. Yes. And energetically, what you are doing is outsourcing resolution. You're saying, I'm going to stay connected to this until something happens to them that makes it feel even. And that's the loop. You created it because now your peace is delayed, your closure is conditional, your energy is still hooked into them because your focus is still on them, what they did, what should happen next. So even though it sounds like you're letting go, you're actually holding the thread. You're keeping the loop open. And karma does not need your supervision, right? So instead of, let's reframe this. Instead of, don't worry, karma will get them, which is said with love here, literally keeping you in the loop of karma, try asking yourself, like, what is this showing me about what I'm no longer available for? Because when you ask that question, the energy comes back to you. The moment becomes information, and you can actually close the loop. And if you want to go a little deeper with it, you can say, where have I been tolerating this that this moment is now making visible? Because, a lot of the time, what feels like betrayal or mistreatment is sometimes less about that actual thing, but it's more about the moment where our system goes, okay, we're done. with this pattern. So if you're feeling any of this energy of betrayal or hurt or like a little bit of discomfort in relationship, what I want you to do is, number one, feel it. Let yourself be annoyed, hurt, like whatever, but don't build a story around it. So do not spiral into, well, this always happens. Like that locks it in, okay? Then I want you to pull your energy back. And I want you to ask yourself, what part of my energy is still with them right now? And bring it back. You don't need a ceremony. You don't need help cutting the cords. You don't need outside intervention to close this karmic loop. You just need to be aware of it. That simple. And choose to bring it back to you. Then I want you to decide your new standard, right? This is where you create a new karmic loop, where karma actually shifts. When you say, I'm not participating in this dynamic anymore, and what I do want is this, and then prove it through action. Move differently next time. Because karma only changes through action. Not through thoughts, not hoping, not waiting, through different participation. To bring this full circle, the moment you say, oh, don't worry, karma will get them or whatever, you're unknowingly signing yourself up to stay connected to them until it does. And not only do you not need to do that, I'm pretty sure you don't want to either. You don't need the universe to balance the scales for you, right? You balance them the moment that you take your energy back, you change your standard, and you stop participating in the pattern. That's karma. That's karma in motion. That's karma in a nutshell. And I get it. This is maybe a different way that you've heard or experienced karma being explained or experienced, but that's also what this energy is asking you to do. Perhaps shift your perspective or shift your perception and be willing to look at something that you thought you knew what it was and be willing to maybe experience it in a different way. So let's go to another concept, which I love because it's so rooted in math. 6 is known as the first perfect number. So a perfect number is when you add up the digits and you multiply the digits and you get the same thing. So 1 plus 2 plus 3 equals 6, and 1 times 2 times 3 equals 6. Right? It's known as the perfect number. We see it in nature all the time. A beehive has these 6 sides made with all of these honeycombs. The 6th side because it's the most efficient. It's the perfect way to build something. So if we kind of bring this energetically into May, there is perhaps this challenge with becoming obsessed with perfection. Like wanting to get it right, fixing things, making things better, optimizing everything. And there's nothing wrong with that until it turns into pressure. And what is perfection anyway? I'm laughing. Go back to the episode that I recorded with my friend and guest Kiki, right? About rewriting the rules of your life. And we talk about perfection there. And I think if this is a challenge for you in May, that's a great place for you to go back and to start and to change your relationship and perception with it. I'm laughing because this next kind of energy theme that I want to talk about is one of my favorite parts of this energy because I really feel best suited to talk about it. And I like to call it the transactional trap, okay? The 6, when it's a little bit off, right, it becomes very, I did this, so you should do that, like tit for tat, like scorekeeping or tracking or measuring. Again, trying to balance, quote unquote, those scales, specifically the scales of justice. And this shows up big time in relationships, and it will show up a lot in May. And there is this narrative, which spoiler is false, that relationships, should be 50-50. Like control, alt, delete. Delete that from our system. Because if you spend your life trying to make things 50-50, you will always lose. Every single time. I'm going to say something that I know is true at the core of my being. If you don't believe it yet, I want you to consider it. When we keep score, someone always loses. When we keep score, someone always loses. And, of course, there's a time to win, like a softball game or a basketball game, or when, right, where it's fun. But what good is it to win in a relationship when the goal is to have both people feel amazing? Energy does not work like that. Energy is not equal moment to moment. Contribution is not symmetrical, and it's not supposed to be. And love isn't measured like that. Love is not measured quantitatively. We can't keep score on love. And, there's this beautiful song from the musical Rent. I won't sing it all, but, 5,000, 600 minutes, right? It talks about how many minutes are literally in a year. And yes, that's how you can quantitatively track and measure a year. But then, of course, listen to the song. It's beautiful. It really asks you, but how can you measure love? In sunsets, in cups of coffee, in moments, right? And it's like, the sick sometimes pushes us to make sense of things. Again, remember, it's in our mental plane. We want to keep score. We want to keep track. But quantitatively, that doesn't always serve us, because there are just some things that aren't meant to be measured that way. And love being one of them. In a relationship, of course, there's going to be days, seasons, weeks where it's 80-20, 70-30. Like, it doesn't even matter. Like, it's even impossible to keep score, right? And I want you to think about in your life where you might be having this invisible scorecard. Well, if it's a friend, she texted me first time, so I'm going to text her back now. Or he loaded the dishwasher last time, so I need to load the dishwasher this time. Let me tell you something. I have not loaded a dishwasher in years. Now, granted, I'm laughing. Should I tell you this? Sure. There's this funny meme about, there's two types of people that load a dishwasher, like a Swedish architect or an engineer, kind of like, IKEA, and like a raccoon on meth. I am 1000% the raccoon on meth, right? And you can guess who my husband is, the opposite person. But that doesn't mean that I'm not contributing in other ways or that it's not fair, right? We measure the thing that we value, but we assume that that's the only thing that counts. And May's like, nope, like we're expanding that. Of course, there's so many things that we see on social, and in my community, there's my husband calls it the mom blog, but what is it really? It's like a Facebook group for moms. And I saw a question come in the other day, and I was actually really surprised by the response, because it was kind of like the mom was saying, I feel like I give, or I contribute so much, and my husband doesn't contribute fairly. And there were so many responses of, okay, well, write down everything you do and then get him to write down everything he does. Like, you have to make it fair in order for you to feel good about it. They went into total problem-solving mode about equality. And I personally did not respond, because I know my suggestion would be totally different, which is don't keep score. Like, you are always going to lose if you keep score. You are always going to lose if you try to make this equal or fair. Or someone in the relationship is going to lose, and then it's not going to be a relationship, right? And, let's go back to the word again. So fair, this is another concept coming up in May, actually comes from the Old English, I don't even know how to say it, fager, F-A-E-G-E-R. And that originally meant beautiful or pleasing or agreeable. It does not or did not mean equal. It didn't mean balanced. It was more about fair, like something that felt good or looked right. And when we say, well, that's not fair, what we often mean is that doesn't feel right to me. That doesn't match my expectation. That's not how I would have done it. Which brings us back to that May theme that we talked about in the beginning, which is perception, versus truth. So the trap with fair, or trying to make things fair, is that it assumes equal input, equal output, equal experience, But we know that life and relationships don't work like that because people have different capacities, different roles, different timings, different needs. And if we start to chase what is fair, we are chasing something that is constantly moving and we just get tired. So instead of asking, like, is this fair? Like, maybe, is this aligned? Is this honest? Is this sustainable? Because fair keeps you in comparison. Fair keeps you in quantitative mode. And what you want to do is come back to truth. Fair is not a universal standard. It's a personal perception. And I really encourage you to notice this pattern if you have one in your life, in any of your relationships, and really, really work hard to release it. And, many times we keep score without even knowing it. Right? It's not like I have a literal scorecard in my pocket that I pull out, be like, yep, folded laundry once, made dinner 3 times, walked the dog 7 times. Like, we don't. But over time, I guarantee you've probably made a list or a scorecard in your mind. And it is one of the most freeing things, where literally the only time you keep score is like on the ball field or when you're actually playing a game. That score matters for the fun of it. Let's talk about this other theme, which is speed. Now, I will say that this is one of the things that most annoys me about the 6, but one of the things that I've had to accept is 6 can sometimes feel slow. And it sometimes feels like slow. Is it ever going to happen? Quick, right? It's maybe like a 2 steps forward and 1 step back kind of energy. Or remember that game Frogger, where it's like you have to get across this thing and you can't just go straight ahead. You've got to kind of go left, right, back. Like it takes some time to get across. And what we can really remember here is that, again, 6 is not linear. So if you know it's what you want to do, stay with it. Timing might be a challenge. And it also reminds me of our energy when we're engaging in things. So softball, as a coach, I see this in my kids all the time, and the difference in the kids that are successful at batting or hitting and who are maybe struggling a little bit. The kids who are struggling are waiting to decide. So they stand up there and they're like waiting for a walk. They're not going to swing unless they know it's a strike. So they're like anticipating a ball. So the pitch is coming in and they're like, no. But at the last second, when their brain realizes it, oh, it's a strike, they swing, and then they're too late. The more successful kids, and what I'm trying to teach everyone, is be ready to swing first. So when the pitch comes in, it's like, okay, swing, yes, swing, yes, swing, yes. And then when your mind recognizes it's a ball, pull back. It is so much more effective to start in yes energy and then move to no than to start in no energy and try to catch up to yes. And so this big energetic shift for May is like, where are you hesitating versus like when you actually want to be ready for something. That difference of, do you tend to start in yes or do you tend to start in no? Something is bringing me back into relationships for a second. So I'm going to follow this thread. Something really cool that we can do through a numerological lens is to look at 2 people and their energy and see how they're connected. We are not designed to get the same things from every person, or we're not designed to get the same things from each other, right? Different people activate different parts of us, different relationships have different roles, and really, I think where it becomes challenging is either expecting one person to meet every need or expecting a person to give back what you give to them. This is where resentment builds. This is where disappointment builds. And so when you can understand, oh, this person brings this into my life and this person brings that, you take the pressure off of one person, having to give it to you all. And then also, if you think about this karmic loop, is like, if you're meant to give something to someone and you give someone that doesn't mean you're meant to receive it back from them. You could be receiving it back from another place. It's just part of a bigger loop. So now we're working with the design of it. And it's just so amazing when I work with my clients of identifying that. So looking at the chart, figuring out numerologically, oh, like I'm meant to receive this from this person and they are meant to receive this from me. And when you can, again, I'm meant to not load the dishwasher, I'm meant to do this, whatever, you can put it in simple terms like that. You kind of can release any of those expectations you have and be simply open to receive, which is so beautiful. You know, I want to bring this concept of visually when we look at the 6, it loops. So if it starts up at the top in that point, right, and it comes down and it loops down around the heart. So it comes from the top of the head and then it wraps right around the heart, that circle on the bottom. So this energy, yes, is very loving, it's very loyal, it's very warm, it's very I've got you energy. It can feel like a hug, right? And I definitely relate to this as a 6 of diamonds. I am loyal. Once you're in, you are in, right? Like, good luck getting rid of me. I'm laughing at my best friends from 20, oh my gosh, no, like almost 30 years ago, right? It's insane. Okay. And if that loop tightens at the bottom, that same energy can become a little bit constrictive, a little bit controlling, a little bit suffocating. I'm laughing like when I hug, you know, when a kid loves a dog so much and they just squeeze it so much, squeeze a bunny so much. Oh, I know you love that bunny so much, but don't squeeze so hard. That's this other energy of the 6, right? And so for you, it's, you know, is this love or is this control trying to feel like love? You know, and again, it's so funny. Do you hear me continually going back to relationship? Another aspect that's coming in for me is around betrayal. And I want to redefine betrayal for a second because we tend to think that betrayal is, you know, someone did something wrong. But a lot of the time, betrayal is actually the collapse of an expectation we didn't even realize we were holding. Yeah, that hits, huh? So in May, if something feels like a betrayal, I want you to pause and I want you to ask yourself, what was I expecting here? Because what you might find out is that it wasn't about them or what they did. It was about a pattern that is now visible. And this energy also coming here is a little bit about anxiety. Okay, so 6 sits in the mental plane. We've already talked about this. So when it's a little bit scattered, it can feel like overthinking or spiraling or, you know, a little bit of anxiousness. Here's the truth. Anxiety cannot be created in the present moment. It just can't. Because anxiety is created when you're thinking about the future or reliving the past. So the medicine of May is not think harder, it's come back to now. Come back to the present moment. What is actually happening? Not what could happen, not what might happen, not what has happened before. What is happening right now? Because clarity, like this is where it lives, right here in the present moment. Bringing back all of this full circle, the energy of the 6 is so nuanced and there's so much opportunity for perspective shifts and expanding your perception, deepening relationships, having so much fun, playing with that third eye. Do you feel the expansiveness of this when you can really get into the nuance and the duality and accept all that the energy is? It is about activating this transformation, really rewriting not only the concept of karma, but how you relate to karma in your life. And I no longer think it's boring. I do feel it is opportunity for just true fulfillment and alignment and contentment. And I don't know about you, but I have been experimenting a lot in April. I've been fucking around a lot. I've been curious. I've been experimenting. I'm trying things that I've never done before. And I'm really looking forward to finding out because I trust myself. And I know that this is the next level, because when we find out, when we identify the patterns, it is setting us up for the energy of the next month, June, which is where everything is going to take off. You know, May is not asking you to have all the answers. It's not about finding everything out, right? It's really about finding strategies and ways to work on what's happening internally and energetically. All those things we talked about, fairness, karma, blah, 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 they're all ways to try to balance something externally instead of working what's actually happening with you internally, right? And energetically. Because what we're finding out this month, it's something that's been there all along. We're just finally seeing it. And I get it, that can be annoying, but it's also so true. And because of that, I just think we're gonna have a lot of laugh out loud moments. You know, my kid tells me that LOL is not cool anymore. Neither is the face with the laughing, crying things. I should use a skeleton, I think, instead. And I should use more of LMAO, I think. Here's the thing. I don't care what you call it, but there will be moments this month where we will laugh out loud. And the beautiful thing is when we have curated relationships where we can do it and laugh together. You know, I'm just so excited for May because, you know, right after preparing and writing this forecast, what I start to work on is the daily energetic forecast for the month ahead. So for every day in May, I go deep into the empowered side, the disempowered side, a daily affirmation, a daily journal prompt for you to do, an action that you can take every day to really harness that energy. I also lead you through a visualization that can really help you tap into your energy. And that's in the calendar. We'll put a link in the show notes. I really encourage you to get it. And then I take it a step further for my mastermind. And each person in the mastermind gets their own personal energetic forecast. So we have all of these universal themes, all of these themes that we're all going to be feeling. And then I take each one of their charts and I do a full energetic forecast for them personally. So you know exactly what to do when the opportunity is like specific for you. And that is one of it's funny because it is this big loop. I'm thinking, I don't know if my favorite part is doing the forecasts or at the end of the month when everything has kind of come to fruition and I get messages back of everything you said was exactly what happened. I just love that connection that is there. And so if that is something that you want to explore, I want you to message me right now for Fire and Ice. The mastermind, it's a 6-month container where we start off with a one-on-one call with you and I to get deep into your chart. You come into the group. We have calls in the group. We have Telegram access. There's so much beauty and depth and shifts and transformation that happens in that space. And I just felt really called to talk to you about it today because I know there are people out there listening who are wanting this type of community, wanting this type of support. And I would love to explore that if that feels right for you. So let's end on the same way we started this podcast. It's gonna be May. And really get excited for this energy that is coming. Have a beautiful month. Happy May. You know, we talked about last month, April showers bring May flowers. Enjoy finding the flowers. Enjoy seeing the fruits of your labor come. And please message me, reach out, let me know how this landed for you. I can feel the energy of May landing, much different than April, and I'm excited to be there with you. All right, everyone, until next time, bye.